Hello, and I am your host, Doug Lindauer, and we are doing a very special pre-BART live stream so I can do a little bit more things that I won't be able to do on the official.
Fast there, me hearties.
Like
It's
be
time for
be
all
interrupted by the
combatants to search
Crystal
for the
Cove guy.
treasure of Crystal Cove.
No, what we're going to talk about is the announcement by Severlin at Gen Con that the next expansion will be Sharn, the City of Towers. And I would like to kind of take a moment to go over kind of what that means. First off, it's called Sharn City of Towers for a reason, obviously. And that reason is made of towers. Now, when DDO came out, I got really big into Eberron lore. I have some of the novels, those that I can find after all these years. I also have most of the source books. I've been fortunate enough to get them both physically and on PDF. And with that, we are going to go ahead and set up a source box here. Let's see, I need a window capture. No. It's not coming up. I don't know why. Trying to bring it up. I'm not too sure why it's not showing up. I don't want to do a full thing. Well, let's go ahead and just set that. Let's see if I bring it up. Does it show? No. Okay. I thought this would be easier. How does that look on the screen? It doesn't look like anything. Oh, I thought I'd just be able to set up a window capture. Yes, Verlona, I know. It's just a blank box. I'm trying to find the right one. It's just that Microsoft Edge is not very good. I hate to do this, but we're going to go ahead and try to throw these over to Opera. See if I can bring it over up on Opera. Now, why won't it do that? I think it has something to do with this PDF thing. Alright, well, let's kill this. Okay, we will do something really quick, and if this doesn't work, we'll do this the hard way. I wonder if I could just do a browser source with it. That might not work, but we can try that. Okay, I can get it up, but I can't do anything with it. Oh, of course, that would work. Yeah, I gotta delete this too. So there's one last thing to be tried, and I'm going to try that really quick. Anyway, as I'm doing this, Sharn is going to be the next expansion. What we should expect from Sharn is a lot of vertical towers and walkways. So I'm standing here in the marketplace because this is like a very mini baby Sharn right here, because we've got the walkway connecting over this, you know, this path down here over the ground, and it leads to the Large March Bank Tower. And hopefully in the city of Sharn, we'll be able to access a tower like this on multiple levels. There should be towers that look a little bit like this, because this is kind of, you know, a little bit of Kandaric international style. Well, you know, Kandaric main style is more like the ziggurat over in the actual 12. Why is this not working? Why am I just having the devil's own trouble with this? Because, you know, I kind of want to do it, right? I'm just having the devil's own luck today, guys. Another thing that we should see a lot of are airship towers at many levels. This would be a very plausible look to have in Sharn, where you start off on one level and you walk up to another, and maybe there'd be like some shops here and another walkway, and you'd come up here and you go out that way for some shops, and then you could climb the airship tower to board, you know, whatever airships that go along. Now, another thing that, since it is a oh, it's hanging again. No, it's going. Since it is a Manifestono Sirenia, another thing that's going to be used a lot of are going to be the like floating platforms, and we can see these a lot in House Cannith. Now there will be many different styles in Sharn, so some areas might look like the houses in Stormreach, although that's kind of a Stormreach thing. Odds are we're going to be seeing more of the nations of Zendrick represented in Sharn rather than the Stormreach houses. I mean, the dragon mark houses are still going to be there. Don't get me wrong. But Sharn should look a lot more cosmopolitan than rather than being restricted to the respective dragon marks. Did we miss it? Did we miss it? No, it's coming down. Good. We're gonna go. We're gonna take a magic carpet ride. So while these are definitely crafted by House Caneth, odds are the magic they use are bound because they used teleportation crystals. These are probably bound to Sirenia. So this kind of magic here will be a lot more prevalent in the city of Sharn. No, I wasn't lagging. No, I'm trying to display something and it's just not coming out, Thoughtcore. I appreciate the help, but that's not the problem I'm having. So, rides like this will not be exactly uncommon. Do I have Featherfall on? I wonder. Yep. Kind of want to see if I can get over here. Oh, easy peasy. I can get wicked over here. Wow, okay. I always thought it was kind of sad you couldn't get back up. Y'all like, no, 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 come back, come back, come back. I want to go back to the Lord of Blades. Come on, come on. I'm a Warforged. But there are little ones right here. You know, like take a little ride. This one's like a funicular. This one's like a straight elevator. All right, let's go see something else that would be in Sharn. There would not, well, not be in Sharn, but not be out of place in Sharn. If there's going to be one of the Dragon Mark houses that's going to have a huge presence in Sharn, it's definitely going to be the Warriors of House Deneth. House Deneth has already played a big role in at least 2 of the series of Eberron books I've read, one of which started out in Sharn. Is it done yet? All right, we've got that up and loading. Jeez, Adobe, do you gotta bloat everything? Yes, we do. And one of the things that's probably going to be a kind of a big deal is a tower like the one of House Deneth. This would be a very small tower in Sharn. This is huge in here in Stormreach, but Stormreach only has supposedly about 11,000 people. Sharn has over 200,000. And I think that's a bit small for the way it's portrayed. That might just be me. I'm not the writer. I am certainly not Keith Baker. And so, House Deneth really kind of comes from Sharn. So if you imagine like the base of Sharn, looking a bit like House Deneth right here, you probably would not be far off. The base wall. It's just that as it goes up, it's going to look different because each nation and each Dragon Mark house and each organization is going to leave their own mark. Okay, this should work. let's see if I can make a source for this and see if we can get it up and running, guys. I really want to do this. Yes! Make it just a bit smaller. There we go. Alright, so now we have this up. And I can kind of... I'm going to pop this out. We don't need to see that. Alright. Oh. Okay, let's take just a look at this picture. We see a little, this little mini airship, which I think is pretty cool. So mini airships just might be one of the things that we see in Sharn City of Towers. And obviously it's kind of, it's just a little airship skiff, and it's sailing between all these towers. You kind of see a little Fairlane looking over here, a little Deneth right here. Some with little cone tops over here. Looks like there's some kind of amphitheater right here. And it's vast. This is a really big place. Now, let's go. All right. So this is this is one of the pictures I wanted to show, and it shows the vertical city. All right. So floating above the very top of Sharn is a place called Skyway. This is where this is like the main place. It's like, well, let's read it. The Skyway is magically suspended above the city on gigantic discs of force. So underneath here there would be like huge round glyphs that are going to be visible. And so if you look up, even if they don't give us Skyway, so if you're at the top of Sharn, you look up, you should see this giant base with these like huge discs of force that may even look like the bigger versions of the crystals we just saw in House Cannith. This is not a cloud palace, but an actual extension of the city. Skyway includes some of Sharn's finest inns and restaurants, exotic and upscale trades, and a number of mansions belonging to the very richest citizens. This is the Beverly Hills. If the rest of Sharn's LA, this is Beverly Hills. If the rest of it's New York City, this is Fifth Avenue. This is the main kick. This is the best of the best. And that's true in Sharn. Whenever you go up higher, you go up better. Okay? Everybody wants a better view. It's not that much different than real life in a big city like... No, my cat did knock the thing. Oh, Olivia. Anyway. So, anyway, like I said, any time you have access to higher or bigger or better, obviously that's what people are going to be picking. So now the upper city, this is where, obviously this is the newer sections. Sharn's continually growing up. Doesn't grow out, it grows up. Okay? So people just keep building on top of buildings, and they can do that because as long as they make their base as something that enhances the manifest zone, you don't need the support. And so people are going to get through on these walkways and through these towers, off of older towers, and you can kind of see little ladders up right here. And the newer, when you look at places people build nowadays, obviously the newer stuff's always the better stuff. Does it have a listing? All right. Cliffside Terra. Okay, this is the overview. So what we're seeing on the vertical map, we're seeing what is the central plateau, and the central plateau has this wall, and it probably resembles a lot like the Denieth Wall, but what's behind that wall is going to be vastly different. Okay, because originally the central plateau was a goblinoid city, so it's probably going to look a bit like Shanticor. Okay, it's going to be like adobe buildings and whatnot. It's just on my guessing, but if they really bring in an Eberron guy and they go off of this is what we should see. So on top of, rather than like demolish the goblinoid city and whatnot, when it was occupied much later, and since it's a manifest zone, they just simply started building on top of it. So the lower levels are still going to be like where all the hobos live. Okay, and we can see that down here. The depths. Right now, yeah, the depths. The depths is a generic name for everything that lies beneath the city's main plateau, excepting cliff sides and the cogs far below. The upper levels give way to active and inactive sewers, some of which have their own inhabitants. So, kobolds. We're going to see kobold and oozes, definitely. That's just the way it is. As well as the mostly forgotten ruins of the early settlements built long before the towers started to rise. Far below and accessed by well-maintained tunnels and shafts, the cogs sit at the very base of Sharn and serve as an actively populated center of industry. In fact, the roots of modern Sharn's towers lie underground in some places, buried by the passing of centuries. So, obviously, the goblinoid races have come back, and, they're not accepted at the higher levels. But just like in every society, what we would consider to be lowest, but they work really hard, and they're probably, they're going to be good goblinoids and bad goblinoids, Hobos, we've had good hobos and bad hobos. Nothing's black and white in Eberron. That's really great. I'm sorry, I'm leaning over because I'm a little sore in the back, but I really thought this overview would be really, really neat to do. Oh, so now below the depths we have the cogs. Now these are foundries and forges. Okay. They run off the lava pools. They provide the heat for all the industry that goes on in these huge caverns that are, this is all manifest in Sirenia, so the huge caverns under here don't actively really do much to disrupt the integrity of the city above. But it does give a place for heavy industry to take place without actually being within the city. So in this case, what you're going to think of more would be, what's his name? The Kandaric guy who keeps messing up. Oh, I'm blanking on his name. The guy from Vaughn 4. Haywire. So imagine any of Haywire's, the foundry and thank you, Rolona. Haywire. When you think of his foundry in made to order, that's probably what the cogs are going to look like. Okay, lots of lava basins coupled with heavy industry and manufacturing. So that really covers the lava pools, the cogs. Lava pools are lava pools, right? And cogs and the depths. Now, the other city is just basically a city, and it's like right here. So we'll read this. Sharn rises from 5 distinct plateaus. While each plateau has its own feel and personality, you have to remember that the city also rises vertically into the usually cloud-filled sky. So while the city is divided into horizontal neighborhoods, it is also divided and stratified vertically. Take a typical block on the central plateau. Starting at the uppermost level of the city, Skyway floats above the central plateau's tallest towers that actually touch the ground. The upper city sees the most light and enjoys the freshest air, and consequently the most well-to-do members of society live and work among the sky bridges and platforms and balconies that extend from the uppermost towers. Dropping down to the next section, we come to the middle city. This part of the city is a bit more enclosed than the section above it, but there are still open-air balconies and platforms here and there. A wide range of middle-class citizens live and work in this region, and I have to guess most of our adventures would take place here. Descending farther, we arrive in the lower city, where the poor must toil and struggle to survive. Few windows and only the occasional balcony or skybridge can be found among these levels, where the tower foundations grow close together and seem to merge with each other in ways almost unimagined in the higher levels of the city. Beneath the lower city, the weight of Sharn's tower seems to crush all memories of the depths. Sewer networks fill the upper regions of the depths before giving way to the ancient ruins and forgotten levels of earlier ages. Passages and shafts are neglected, and many have collapsed over the centuries, but who knows what wonders and horrors roam these vaults that have been abandoned by those living higher in the city. Now, I imagine our most dangerous adventures will take place here. At the very base of the city, beneath ground level, lie the cogs, whose great foundations and massive forges fuel Sharn's industrial economy. Shafts and tunnels that bypass the depths lead directly to the cogs. In all, it's hard to tell where one vertical section of the city begins and where another ends, and it certainly isn't a uniform division from one ward to another. So while Stormreach is superly partitioned, and it is, I imagine Sharn's going to be a little bit more hodgepodgey. Oops, I made it glow blue. Okay, so using the standard format for presenting statistics back in D&D 3.5, which is where we kind of come from. Sharn looks something like this. Sharn is a metropolis. It's conventional with a town council. Non-standard, so the dragon-marked houses do have not only their presence there, but this also means that the dragon-marked houses have control within their areas. So they're not run by the town council. They're run by internal politics. Non-standard, the Citadel. Non-standard, criminal guilds. All of these represent the portions of the city that each one of these control. I think the Citadel is actually the main focal point of House Deneath, if I remember right. I might be wrong, but I do believe the Citadel should be just a Dragonmark house, but it should be Deneath. I think their main base is here, if I'm remembering right. I might not be. 100,000 gold piece limit for ALN. I don't know what that means, but assets. The actual city, if you rated it, would have a little bit over 1 billion gold pieces. Yeah, it's 211,000 population, and when you look at the numbers of who occupies it, it's a very cosmopolitan city. 33% is human, 17 dwarf. Big banking in Sharn. Yeah, Kandaric and Deneath really have a big presence here. Jurassico probably composes most of that, 9%. Half-loin. Then we have the 9% Goblinoid, which, of course, is probably the biggest population of the depths. 8% Gnome, 7% Elf, 5% Half-Elf, which is a little odd. I would have expected those numbers to be reversed. 4% Shifter. So first update after, do we get Shifters? I mean, we already got the Druid. We get Shifter. 3% Changeling, which would be easy to implement once we had Shifter. 2% Orc and Half-Orc. 1% Warforged, which I always thought the number was a little low. 1% Kalashtar, which seems about right, and 1% other races. So all in all, I mean, that's a real diverse city to explore. Like I said, the only thing I think that there would be more Warforged, but so when we look at this, there are a couple of things I did want to mention out of this. I think it's right here. There it is. did we go? We start up here, right? So a long wall rings the central plateau at its lowest level, interrupted by towers along its entire length. Inside the wall, structures rise higher and higher toward the tallest towers near the middle, creating a great artificial mountain in the heart of the city. Mostly populated by the upper and middle classes, the central plateau houses the seat of the city's government, its wealthiest cities, and its finest businesses. Its wealthiest citizens and its finest businesses. Embassies from other nations, important representatives of the Dragon Mark houses and banks are all found here as well. So we're probably only really going to get Sharn's Central Plateau. If they gave us more, but if they give us a Central Plateau, I am good. The Memphis Plateau serves as the entertainment hub of the city and is home to Morgrave University. Okay? So the Central Plateau, this is main Sharn. Then this is entertainment and the university. So you've got to imagine that this is where you're going to find probably House Fairlane, and House Caneth, I would think. Yeah. And a variegated quilt of different races. So if we get just these two, I'd be in heaven. Just these two, right here. Certainly the most trendy of Sharn's quarters. Memphis is a popular tourist destination. No walls surround Memphis, although its taller towers spread along the rim. The enormous dome of Morgrave University, ringed by 5 tall, slender towers, stands near the center of the plateau. So this would be like opposite of Central Plateau. The Central Plateau is toward the middle, it's very tall. And I guess the outer ones are noticeably smaller. Here you're going to have all, probably along the outer ring right here towards the Central Plateau, closest to the manifest zone, will be really tall towers. And in the middle it'll kind of like have a basin, where at the middle of that basin will be like standing, like if you remember Foundation and Trantor, you would have the Galactic University. Well, here you would have Morgrave University. And you can kind of see it over the text. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 towers and the central dome of the university. This would be really, really neat to see. Maybe Memphis might even be a little bit more interesting in the long term than the Central Plateau. Depends on how they do it. North Edge, the most residential of Sharn's quarters, contains everything from tower top penthouses in the heights to tackly apartments on the lower levels. Aside from a marketplace district near the bottom of the towers, Northridge is a quiet little neighborhood with little commerce and little crime. Yeah, probably not going to spend a whole lot of time here. But, so that means right in here probably, there'd be like towers kind of, bouncing up and down through here, and then kind of a hole in them where you'll find the marketplace. Dura, the largest quarter in Sharn, covers the great expanse of the western plateau, from the cliffs overlooking the Dagger River to the crevasse of the western Cog. It is also the poorest, excepting the Cogs, with even its most topmost levels solidly middle class. Dura mixes various businesses and housing, never approaching a true residential district, but holding a number of apartments, tenements, and slums. The lower level of Dura includes a large population of immigrants from Dargon and Droam. You catch that right? We've had problems with Droam before. Forming a neighborhood of goblinoids and other monstrous residents. Okay, so I can kind of see, maybe like refugees from the assault on Stormreach coming here and stirring up some trouble. Cliffside is a neighborhood perched precariously on the side of the cliffs above the Dagger River and Sharn's waterfront. It includes the waterfront, so this place is going to look a lot like a huge version of Stormreach, without without the giant ruins. Okay, so it includes the waterfront, businesses far below Dura, as well as towers built up on the side of the cliff face, and a shanty town of caves dug into the sides of the southern cliff, overlooking the hill. The businesses of Cliffside are either directly related to shipping or cater to boat crews, adventurers, and other transients. Alright, and then we have one thing that... Oh. I've always wanted another chapter to that story. Yeah, I would. I get you. There are so many things that could continue into Sharn. Obviously, the obvious one, of course, is the Age of Rage. Certainly. Let me bring that. No, that's not what I wanted. I don't really need that. Okay. Never mind. We'll just continue on. So this is Tavik's Landing is going to have the one thing that a lot of people are hoping to see, but it might not be useful at first. It depends on how big DDO gets. I mean, if we can keep this going over the next couple of years, maybe Tavik's Landing will become very important, because Tavik's Landing is in some ways defined by being the terminus of the Orion Lightning Rail and Trade Road. The magical trains must run on time. The lower levels cater to travelers and traders entering Sharn by rail, and include an entire city district that has been converted to provide housing for refugees from the last war. So, obviously we have right here a big thing to continue most of the Caneth storylines, because one of the defining things of the last war is the independence and recognition of the sentience of the Warforge. So you could continue the Caneth, the Lords of Blade storyline right here in Tavik's Landing. Okay, so that pretty much covers that. So let's go ahead and we're not going to cover this, but I'm going to hopefully do a couple of these before Bard Life on a consistent basis. We'll get into that later, but I don't think this is the one. Let me open the other one. File. Tools. I want to open a file. That was weird. Let's see, this is in... Let me bring up the other file. I didn't remember... There we go. This is on the this is on the main continent, Corvair, and it is the capital of which nation? We'll try to go to 135. It says 5. I think that's one behind, but we can go to 134 and we should be fine. No, why not 14? This Breland. Okay. I was close. There we go. Breland. So population 1.7 million. So literally 1 out of every 3 people live in Sharn. So that's a little bit like, Mexico levels, a long time ago. Well, late 60s. So, we got to the map. I found it. So Sharn is the main city of the nation of Breland, and they keep spelling it differently. If you noticed earlier, it was Bree land. So now it's Breland. Is it Breland or Breland? It's really up. I guess we're gonna have to wait to see. Look at that! We have another King's Forest. Well, darn if that just won't be confusing. So, Sharn sits here at what's called the Helt because obviously the Chesapeake Bay-like inlet here has two offsets that make it look like the hilt of a dagger. You know, you gotta do things like that when you make them. So there are lots of neat places here in Breland that we can see starting out in Sharn that we could expand out into. Probably not the King's Forest because that would be terribly confusing. I've already brought that up. But we have something over here called Shadowlock Keep. Now, if that doesn't sound like a great place to go adventuring, I don't know. Then we have this place, which is I would like to bring this up because it's called New Sire. Now, the thing about New Sire I see coming out of that is that's a great place for a lot of the Cana. Sounds like a great place to find refugees from the last war. That we could continue House Denny's and House Canath's adventures. Then we have the Black Pit and Cragwar. I mean, these places just sound like really great places to go to if you're in the search for loot. Sharn's just his biggest city because now that I look at it, it looks like the capital's Rote. I think that's what that means. That's what it usually means. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit like Sacramento and Los Angeles, though. Sacramento might be the capital is. I'm from California. I'm using that kind of a thing. Sacramento might be where the government is, but we all know where the power lies. If LA ain't happy, nobody happy. The Dragon's Crown. I wonder if it mentions any of these things. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now, this is a bit old, but as of, when this first came out, King Borano rules Breland. And of course, look at that. The Breland's first leader is Rowan, which makes sense why the capital would be there. The Parliament makes the laws of Breland, and the Crown enforces them. So, there's actually a bit of democracy here, which is kind of neat. And look at that. See, town hall meetings and whatnot. Well, I can see a lot of intrigue in here just because the other realms are going to be all like, man, that's going to make them weak. And then, I mean, we could get seriously modern day political in here with some of the stuff. We could do some really good some metaphors and similes right here. We could have a lot of fun over the next 3-4 years with just this alone. As is true from all the other nations, they are descended from the once grand kingdom of Galifar and enjoys good relations with the Dragonwine houses. So let's just read here. Canath is having a trouble with their leadership in Breland. They've got 3 leaders fighting. Oh man, that just sounds like wonderful. That just sounds wonderful. I mean, look, that sounds like a chance to make the paper. Time to make the plat, House Mindani, which we don't know that much. I'll have to look those up. I do have the book Dragon Mark Houses. It's a half-elf house, though. House Fjarlin's big. It's got the matriarchal enclave in Sharn and outposts throughout Breland. Entertainments and artisans and spies. And she's a bigwig with Braylon Aldair and Thrain. Wow. I have a good feeling that the Baron Elvior Arathani or their successor or her successor, lawful neutral female elf, Bard 7, Shadow Dancer 4. So, you know, since she's got those, we could imagine that she would probably be Bard 14, Rogue 6, 2, Epic, Shadow Dancer. We could plot that out in DDO terms. House Valdis, that's the transport one. Wow. Look at that family. Look at the royal family. King Bronel leads the royal family of Breland. His immediate family consists of 6 sons, 5 daughters, his surviving siblings, 3 younger brothers, 4 younger sisters, and their wives, husbands, and children. This is not a royal family. It's in danger of going extinct, man. They are... Okay, Roat has the halls of the mighty Broken Blade Castle. Boranum does maintain working residence in Sharn and Starlasker and keeps Castle Arcane in the western part of the country as a retreat. So, we'll definitely probably meet some of the royal family. We probably won't meet the king, but we could definitely see the royal family. Yeah, Silver Flame and Sovereign Host. The first thing I can actually say in this whole thing that's boring. Silver Flame and Sovereign Host. Silver Flame and Sovereign Host. Yeah. There are 2 sayings about Sharn in here. If I'm reading it past it. If you want to buy it, it can be bought in Sharn. And if somebody wants it, someone sells it in Sharn. So that pretty much sums up Sharn. All roads lead to Sharn. Then they have access to transportation to take out. It seems like it's going to be a thing with Sharn. It's like everything happens in Sharn. Everything happens because of Sharn. Alright, so look at that. All roads lead to Sharn. All roads lead out of Sharn. Okay, so yeah, it is truly the ancient Rome of the Eberron campaign setting. And then Rote, big time. Look at that. That's a pretty big city for this. New Sire, which started as a refugee village in the wake of the destruction of Sire, has rapidly grown into a large town. Love to see New Sire eventually. Argoth, the mobile fortress. Dear Lord, wait, what's this? Argoth, small town, 1,600. Once the mighty fortune of Sharn turned out new and amazing weapons of war. With the help of Caneth makers and other arcane crafters, the great forges crafted several types of warforged, powerful vehicles, and wondrous moving cities. Of these latter creations, only 2 remain active. The most famous of these is Argoth. Argoth is a massive structure that appears to be part fortress, part cliffside, part cityscape, floats above the ground, and slowly moves from place to place. We've got to adventure on this one day, guys. We have to. This is... yeah. This is basically a giant, like, giant manifest train hooked up to towing this city. Small city. Awesome! We gotta do that. We gotta do that one day. See, the Dragon Crown is a plateau with jutting stones rising from the earth in the heart of Breland's farm country. 10 stone monoliths, each more than 15 feet high, sit slightly askew in a circle around a patch of uneven ground 30 feet across. Sometimes the monoliths glow with an eerie light. So, cultists... the dragon below. You know, they're still trying to free the other Lords of Dust. I mean, we all know that the Spinner of Shadow became Lothchow, but there are still 12 more Lords of Dust. And we're going to skip the King's Forest because we don't care, because we already got a King's Forest. It's a King's Forest. The Black Pit is a terrible crack in the earth that leads to the deepest, darkest depths of Kuiper itself. A small village sits at the edge of the Black Pit. It is a dreary, desolate place where despair hangs in the air as the thick and toxic vapors rise out of the chasm. Thieves, murderers, and deserters from the war gather to hide and live. So it's a good black marketplace. I'm not exactly too sure if it's a great place to adventure. The fortress of Sterngate protects Breland from Dargoon invaders. It sits at the end of the Margul Pass, so we can definitely see Dinia things right here. It's kind of like a guard's post. Alright, so with that, that's going to be the first in my series of taking a look at what Sharn's going to be like. And we're going to try to do this every Saturday before Bard Life. Maybe a little bit longer next time. I'm glad I've got this working. I'm going to go ahead and take 30 minutes to get myself ready to do Bard Live, where we will be adventuring over on the DDO main page. I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be dual boxing again, but this time with Red Array and Ninth Walker, like I did on my own personal channel yesterday. And I hope everybody will stop by and check it out. And I would love to answer more questions about Sharn and talk about how pumped up we are. And then I will also see if in all of my other assets, if I have anything I can bring up on the other big announcement that the next race that will be released will be Tiefling. So with that, let's go ahead. No, wrong one. So with that, I hope everybody has a good evening, and I hope to see you all over on the main DDO channel in about 30 minutes. So everybody, peace and good questing, and we'll see you a little later. Thank you for stopping by.